Feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Welcome into Timeline T. I am your host, the Sam D, aka Sam Duesmay Jr. Oh, I know y'all missed me. Some of y'all definitely missed me in the comments from some of that Lamar Jackson content. Don't worry, we got more Lamar Jackson. Forget head top. Don't worry about it. People love to get in the comments and argue about Lamar. That's cool with me, man. Let's go back and forth. Let's have that conversation. But thank you for those who are pulling up. Hit that like on the way in. I don't want to waste too much of your time because you see what we got here. We got a lot to get into. We got the Jets and the Packers. When is this gonna end? We'll get there. Lamar Jackson, like I said, Blue Check Boys are again running with narratives. Y'all know I've been here to check the Blue Check Boys and their sources. We'll get there. And LeBron goes after potentially the biggest of all Blue Check Boys and checks him with a pimp slap, with a backhand, however you want to classify it. But it did happen. All of that and more. We got some other NFL tidbits. OBJ, when's that going to happen? Where's it going to go? There's a list of teams allegedly. Ezekiel Elliott allegedly also has a list of teams. Whether those teams actually care that they're on his list is another thing to be discussed, but that's a thing we will get into. Plus, quiet as kept, what's up with the Phoenix Suns? We'll get there. There's a lot there. Monty Williams just keeps talking, and I'm not sure what his deal is, but I'm not saying he's being exposed, but there's a conversation to be had to have D-Book, to have the point fraud, to have DeAndre Ayton, and, you know, he only got 3 games, but to have KD is looking shaky for the Phoenix Suns. I don't know if they scare anybody in the Western Conference. As much as that trade made just a humongous wave of headlines and tweets and was aggregated all over the place, I'm not sure now that we've been able to watch the aftermath and how other teams have been playing. I'm not sure if that Phoenix Suns thing is going to be this machine like we thought it was. You know, at least as of right now. Obviously no KD, but we'll get there. But let's go off top, off rip. Can somebody, anybody between the Packers and the Jets come up with some compensation, please? A few weeks ago, they said this part was done. This part was supposed to be done. There was all the reports from your Blue Check boys and girls that said compensation's done. We're just waiting on Aaron to say what he wants to do. Aaron comes out on McAfee and says who he intends to play for. And now we're back to square one where, yeah, Jets and Packers are still working on compensation. Make up your mind, insiders. Who are these sources? The trainer didn't have it right. The equipment manager didn't have it right. Who are your sources? You literally told us 2 weeks ago. Compensation was done. We're just waiting for Aaron Rodgers to come out of the darkness retreat. He comes out of the darkness. He sees the light. He goes on McAfee. He makes a big deal. All Jets over everything. All green over everything. Everyone goes wild. They're like, oh, well, now it's a done deal. Oh, but wait a minute now. Now the two teams actually have to talk. Well, who gave bad tea? You know, we talk about, you know, ginger tea here is a favorite of mine, you know, soursop tea. And some of y'all like that Earl Grey, that English breakfast stuff. This tea right here, the tea of Jets, Packers, compensations done. We're just waiting on Aaron. Oh, that's that Lipton. That's that plain ass Lipton tea. It's basura. It's cheap and it's basura. What the hell is going on? Why don't we know anything? Why are these people who are paid millions, and some of them on the low scale, hundreds of thousands of dollars, to give us information that is supposed to be credible, that's supposed to be viable? That's why they have the mystical, magical blue check. And they can't figure this out. They can't get this right. What are we doing? Let's go to the screen, man. Let's go ahead and go to the screen. Update. The Jets and Packers haven't, quote, spoken much this past week, per your man's Adam Schefter. Now we're getting more information. Green Bay, quote, wants a first-round pick in the Rodgers trade, and that's not all they want. He also added that the Jets getting a second-round pick for Elijah Moore has little to do with the Packers. And let's talk about that Elijah Moore part. When Aaron emerged from the darkness and said, I intend to be a Jet, there was also reporting by some of your blue check boys and girls that said, oh, sources close to the Jets inform me Elijah Moore will not be traded. Despite Aaron Rodgers putting out that list that had those 3 receivers that he targeted. Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, and Odell Beckham Jr. The Jets pushed out to their blue check boys and girls that they have in their back pocket and told them, hey, put this out there that we're not trading Elijah Moore. Only to trade Elijah Moore a week later. Again, so these sources that these people claim to have, these insiders that we are told to believe upon, the social construct of, well, this person's an insider. They have a blue check next to their name. They work for a 4-letter network. They work for a company that has a lot of access to NFL teams or just sports teams in general. Why are we being made to believe these people when so quickly it's so obvious that they're just regurgitating, they're just spitting what is being dictated to them by team officials? Why do we keep falling for this? 2 weeks ago, Jets-Packers compensation worked out. 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, Elijah Moore is not getting traded. And since then, it's been the reciprocal of that. What are we doing? Can someone step out on the ledge with some actual sources and say what's actually happening without the fear of, tampering, or without the fear of, outing one of your sources? If it's a real source, not an equipment manager, not one of the ball boys, not one of the head trainer. No, a real source, someone that's actually sitting in a room during negotiations, one of those people. Not people that are getting second and third and fourth hand information like it's a game of phone tag back in the day. Not that. Someone who's actually in the room, not hearsay. Is it possible that we can get the media to actually do that instead of speculating upon speculating? And every day we come and we find a sliver of an update, and that's supposed to generate all this feedback. Where if you keep track of all this stuff, you realize there's nothing happening. There's absolutely nothing happening. Everything that was told to us was a lie. It was a lie 2 weeks ago when they told us that the Jets and Packers had the compensation figured out and that we're just waiting on Aaron. That was a lie. It was a lie last week when they said we are not going to trade Elijah Moore. That was a lie. Yet this was reported and then aggregated after that, but it was reported initially by people with blue checks that make 6 to 7 figures to be insiders, to have sources in high places to be able to give us information to keep us informed. And yet time after time, we get led down the river of speculation, and no one doubles back and says, well, hey, wait a minute. That completely goes against what you reported a week ago. That goes against completely what you said your sources told you 2 weeks ago. Well, why am I going to believe you in this very moment then? What about what you're saying to me right now? What about what you're thumbing out on your phone right now? Why should I believe that? When you could tell me the complete opposite of that a week from now. But then you're going to try to tell me how both versions were true. And that's why you have to really pay attention to some of the wording that these blue check boys and girls use, because the key is in the words. I'm very much into words, and words matter in the context of how words are used, especially when you're reporting like this as someone that is has a degree in bachelor's in journalism and media. Words are very important, and you can get yourself libel by using the wrong words if you jump out there too aggressively. So that's why speculation, sources close, insiders close, a person close to the situation, all that type of wording is done by design. They're not making that stuff up just to be cute. They're protecting themselves in case they're wrong. Because again, if you're getting information from a trainer, if you're getting information from an equipment manager, but that's your source. If you're getting information from, the assistant to the assistant GM, But that's all you got. Sources close to the situation. A source tells me, a team source, a team exec, even though it's the assistant to the assistant GM. In theory, you can still spin that like that's an exec. When that person's not even in the room, when actual decisions are being made. This is where we're at with sports media. When is this deal going to get done? How much longer can we drag this out? They put the pressure on Aaron fresh off the darkness retreat to make his mind up. He made his mind up, and now the two teams get to just kick this down the road till however, whenever. And we're supposed to just sit here on our hands and knees waiting? Like, what part of the game is this? Why is this still a thing? Why are we still out here trying to navigate when Aaron Rodgers, who has said he wants to be a Jet, who the Packers say they no longer want him to be a Packer, or who the Jets are out here signing almost everyone on the list that Aaron Rodgers claims he didn't give them? This, imaginary list that he says, he did not give them. All of a sudden, Alan Lazard pops up. Now, if we move to the next piece of this, Odell Beckham. The Jets seem likely to be signing Odell Beckham. According to another blue check boy, Jeff Darlington, we should very much consider, again, watch the words there. We should very much consider Odell Beckham on the table for the Jets. Financial still in the way, but I still think Odell will end up with the Jets. See, that's not even really information. That's the funny part about it. That's not really tea. That's just saying something that you could ask someone at the deli and get that. You can, roll up on someone at a red light and have to roll down the window and ask them, yo, you think the Jets are close to signing Odell? Yeah, I think they're close. I think they probably just got to figure out the money. But yeah, I think he'll be a Jet. It's the same information. Same information. Your bus driver could give you the same tea. Your bus driver. If you say, yo, you think Odell coming to the Jets? Yeah, man, it's just a matter of time. I think at the end of it, I think he'll be a Jet. It's the same tea. It's the same information. What is this information? How is this considered information? Oh, it bothers me. It bothers me that we're still here because we keep getting different information and no one is holding these people accountable. This is in part why I want to do this show. I want to do this stream because at the end of it, I'm looking at this from a perspective of, well, this is information. This is information that is supposed to be given out. This is information that's supposed to be considered important, vital, culture shifting, news breaking, news making. But day after day, we keep getting information that says otherwise. I don't believe it. I do not believe it because I can understand how this goes like this. I really can't fathom any of that. I can't fathom the wherewithal of being able to have this type of concept of, well, let's hire the best journalists, the best reporters, people who have sources, people who have connections within the industry, and let's give them platforms to be able to give us and our audience the ability to get information as it happens. And this is what it's been dumbed down to. We should very much consider Odell Beckham on the table for the Jets. No shit, bruh. Like if that's news, if this is what goes on television as a segment, where are we at with this then? If this is tea, if this is real vital information, then what are we doing? Why can't the Jets and the Packers just figure this out? It's been long overdue. It is time. It is time. You have to be sick of it. You have to be. And if you're not, tell me why. Tell me why. Is it just the thrill of the transaction? The thrill of will they, won't they? Because at the end of this, at some point, it might come down to where Aaron Rodgers has to spin the block again on Green Bay. If the compensation can't be figured out, he can either walk away, which he said he considered during the darkness retreat, or he can go back to Green Bay and just finish it out, and maybe they can spin the block on this whole scenario again next year. But with all the moves that the Jets have done, clearing up cap space to absorb Aaron Rodgers' contract, going and getting Alan Lazard, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, gone. Now you're on the verge of potentially bringing in Odell Beckham. They went and got Mecole Hardman. So they're bringing in a lot of guys that would be beneficial for someone like Aaron Rodgers, yet, according to sources, which is very different from what they said just a few weeks ago, they haven't spoken much in weeks, and they're very far apart in negotiations. Well, if they're far apart now, how are they so close a couple of weeks ago that you said the compensation's done? Whatever, man. Off that. Sorry about that, but just it's ridiculous. Lamar. Oh, you thought I was fired up about the Jets and the Packers. So the Lamar thing keeps taking turns. The Lamar Jackson saga with the Baltimore Ravens keeps taking turns. So the latest is that, and this happened over the better part of this week. So this story has been on the timeline for a week or so. And when you're trying to navigate what's the latest with Lamar, also understand Lamar hasn't said anything. And that's become a gift and a curse in this because everyone is just jumping out the window with assumptions. So the one person I've been bringing up in terms of, well, what's going on with the Ravens? How come, they have certain people in that front office like Ozzie Newsome, who is a god in terms of constructing a roster and paying his guys and all of that, and he's clearly has taken a step back, even though he still has a title in the front office. What is going on in regards to what does the Ravens actually think? So we had to go to the Bernie Kosar show, Browns QB legend that he is, and Ozzie Newsome was speaking on the Deshaun Watson contract and how it may have complicated things for the Ravens in regards to how they approach Lamar Jackson. So I can't play the clip here because it'll be copyright, but you can see here, did the Ravens contract with Deshaun Watson complicate things for the Ravens? This is on the Bernie Kosar show. Ravens EVP Ozzie Newsome. Our owner did say that contract did create some problems. We have to figure out if that's the norm or an outlier. Now, here is the issue I have with that line of thinking. And obviously, Ozzie is still working for the Ravens, so I don't expect him to jump out the window and say anything problematic or spicy or controversial or anti-company line. We have to figure out if that's the norm or an outlier. And I will keep saying this again and again. Why are we ignoring that Kirk Cousins was the first quarterback in history to get a multi-year, fully guaranteed contract? Deshaun Watson was the second to get a multi-year, fully guaranteed contract. Yes, it was for more money, but it was for 2 more years than what Kirk Cousins got. So yes, and that's what I've been getting a lot in the comments. Well, yes, Kirk Cousins got fully guaranteed, but it's nowhere near what Watson got. Yes, because the market value increased. That's how revenue works. The NFL prints money. It's a billion, probably soon to be $1 trillion industry onto itself. That's how that works. If Kirk Cousins maxes out and got the richest contract at the time, richest contract in NFL history, and by the way, fully guaranteed money. So highest annual salary, highest total in guarantees, richest contract in history. At that time, yes, that was the bar. Since then, that bar has been eclipsed. That's how that works. So when the next person comes up and crosses that bar and then raises that bar, why are we to assume that, well, no, we now can no longer keep moving that bar? We can't raise the bar no more. Why? How come? If we can go from Kirk Cousins and his multi-year, fully guaranteed contract, and that was the bar was raised since then, to Deshaun Watson's multi-year, fully guaranteed contract, why can't the bar be raised again by Lamar Jackson and a fully guaranteed contract? I don't understand the simple math there. It's market value. I understand fans look at things from a management perspective. That's completely bothersome to me, but I get it. But at the end of it, if there's multiple quarterbacks, then it's not an outlier. It's a trend. It is becoming the norm. Quarterbacks are going to be renegotiating. You think Joe Burrows ain't watching this? You think Justin Herbert, Jay Herbo, ain't watching this? They want to know what's going to happen. Because if Lamar gets, that's the thing. If you're going to be mad about Lamar getting that money, are you going to be mad when Justin Herbert says he should get more 2 years from now or next year? What's going to be the reaction then? When Justin Herbert says, oh, Lamar got 250, let's play the scenario. Lamar gets 250, right? Because there's another layer here to the Lamar story of an agent pretending to be an agent. And yeah, we'll get there in a minute. But let's stick right here. Let's paint a scenario where Lamar gets 250, fully guaranteed. What do you think Justin Herbert is going to want? What do you think Joe Burrow is going to want, who has already been to a Super Bowl? Which is further, way further than not just Lamar, which people love to bring up, but it's also further than the other two quarterbacks who got fully guaranteed money. Kirk Cousins never been to a Super Bowl. Deshaun Watson never been to a Super Bowl. Matter of fact, if you take Lamar Jackson, who people in the comments love to talk to me about his lack of playoff success, so cool, walk with me. Lamar Jackson, playoff success, 1 victory, wants guaranteed money. Deshaun Watson, fully guaranteed money, multi-year contract, 1 playoff win. Oh, let's go to Kirk Cousins, fully guaranteed contract, 1 playoff win. So clearly, the reasons that people keep trying to use to build a defense against Lamar, the math don't math. If Deshaun Watson was able to get 230, fully guaranteed, fresh off the offseason from hell, with all the cases he was about to catch, with 1 playoff victory in his career, and Kirk Cousins, who you could argue wasn't even top 10 when he got the richest contract in all of NFL history. When you can go to that level and be that low of a QB and get the richest contract in history, you can't keep nitpicking Lamar Jackson. It's not about a trend at that point. It's not about, oh, if it's a norm. You have already allowed Kirk Cousins to go get guaranteed money, and he is certifiably mid. You have allowed Deshaun Watson, people in your industry that allowed Deshaun Watson off of the offseason from hell, go out and get the richest guarantee in history. Now Lamar wants his piece, and he has a better resume in terms of accolades than those two. Yes, you can nitpick and try to bring him down the notch or two, but in essence, if we're comparing resumes, his resume destroys those two. So why shouldn't he think, oh, well, if this guy's getting 230, I want 250? Why? Just because you think he's injury prone? Just because he's missed 5 games each of the last 2 seasons? That's something to you? But we want to ignore the fact that the Ravens training staff was graded a F- by its own players? They had to fire the head of the strength and conditioning? Former players have been saying we were begging them to fire that guy for years? We just ignore that. That doesn't matter because Lamar's just injury prone. We're just going to chalk it up just Lamar's injury prone. Whatever narrative I could just keep regurgitating because they keep hearing it on, content shows. Then, all right, I'm going to just say that. That keeps me informed. We just talk about how blue check people misinform us all the time. In the Aaron Rodgers, Jets, Packers thing, I just talked about how we get misinformed all the time. They tell us one thing one week, and then the next week it's the complete opposite, and then they want us to believe that both things are the same. Both things are true. Both forms of reporting and sourcing were true. It's the same thing here. Just because we keep hearing blue check boys and girls keep regurgitating and analysts keep regurgitating the same negative takes about why Lamar shouldn't get what he gets, I want to know where are the people that are pushing for Lamar to get this money? Why are their voices being silenced on these platforms? Anywho, there's another piece to the Lamar Jackson thing. Another blue check boy. You see him here. Mike Florio went on the Rich Eisen show. So two blue check boys chopping it up. And he came with some tea that he feels was some significant reporting being done on it. And he basically said that there was an agent that's not officially represented by the NFLPA that is allegedly going around to certain teams and saying, hey, I got the plug on Lamar. He'll come to your team. He wants out. And by the way, you don't have to even give him fully guaranteed money. Now, no one has corroborated this story, but yet and still, this Blue Check Boy was allowed to go on to another Blue Check Boy show and give a full interview on how his reporting has discovered that, yes, there is a scenario where there is an agent that's not really an agent going around and speaking to different NFL teams and saying, hey, Lamar doesn't want to be a Raven and he doesn't want fully guaranteed money, which counteracts everything that we've been told, again, from the media's perspective, not from Lamar. And we've talked about when Lamar responds, we talk about it here. I'm putting Lamar tweets up all the time. And there was a tweet, I'll get to it in a second. But in regards to what this conversation they had was all the different scenarios of how Lamar can get from, if he really wants to leave, if he really wants that guaranteed contract, what's the potential scenario of how this can happen? And the potential scenario is that most likely nothing will happen until after the draft, because according to what this Blue Check Boy is saying, according to his reporting, his sources, no team is willing to give up a first round pick in this year's draft in this Lamar deal. Teams might be willing to be more incorrigible to discuss an offer sheet with Lamar post this draft. But as of right now, no one's willing to forfeit a pick, or two picks in this case, but a pick for sure in this year's draft for Lamar Jackson. Now, take that for whatever you will, right? If you want to believe that, cool. But here's the interesting part is, how would a agent that's not really an agent be able to speak on Lamar Jackson's behalf and then tell these teams, one, he doesn't want to be a Raven. Two, also, he doesn't even want fully guaranteed money. Because again, if we're to play this out, let's pretend that's true. If that's true, then you have Lamar Jackson admitting, I don't want to be a Raven no more, and I don't even really want fully guaranteed money. So that would align itself with some of the alleged reporting that has been put out there for months, right? So a lot of Blue Check Boys will be tap dancing if this actually came to fruition, right? Here's the issue though. If you don't want to be a Raven, then why would you go and tell a team you don't want fully guaranteed money? Because if you don't want fully guaranteed money, and that's been the biggest bugaboo between the Ravens and Lamar, why wouldn't the Ravens just match the offer? Why wouldn't they do that? So this is where you have to take the reporting, take the sourcing, and figure out, does this even make sense? Because if I'm to believe this, an agent that's not really an agent, that's not certified by the NFLPA, is allegedly going on Lamar Jackson's behalf and trying to negotiate a deal with numerous other teams and informing those teams that, one, you don't even have to give him a fully guaranteed contract, and then two, he doesn't want to be a Raven. Well, you don't really have a lot of leverage in the whole part of not being a Raven. That's the whole point of why the franchise tag is, problematic in the first place. The franchise tag is extremely problematic. It forces players to stay somewhere where they truly don't want to be. Not in every single case, but in most cases, when you're at that point where you hit the franchise tag, clearly you weren't extended. When you're forced to sign that tag, there's a lack of belief in the team, in your performance. When Kirk Cousins kept having to do the franchise tag in Washington, yes, they had to just pay him a lot up front for that 1 year, but it was a year-to-year deal because they didn't have any long-term beliefs. And even when he probably, let's look up Kirk Cousins when he was on those last 2 years of that that contract with the Washington football team. Let's see if we can pull that up real quick. Because that was the thing. Like, he even put up good numbers, and they still didn't sign him. They still wouldn't extend him to the point that, oh, okay, you showed us. Like, the whole thing of the franchise tag is like a prove it. We will give you a top 5 salary in the league for this 1 year to prove that you can earn that bread and make us pay you even more, right? That's the whole concept of what the franchise tag is supposed to be. All right, so let's pull this up here. Kirk Cousins. Last 2 years in Washington. Started all the games, 8-7-1, 67% completion rating, almost 5,000 yards passing, 25 TDs, 12 interceptions, right? So when you look at this, you don't really see exemplary play. You don't really see high-level play, right? You don't see it. But he was a Pro Bowler this year, 2016. So then on the last year, no, we don't want to combine it. On the last year of the franchise tag, under 500, completion percentage dipped, yards dipped, TD to interception ratio was roughly the same. So in terms of even the QBR dipped a good deal. QB rating was more or less the same, but the QB rating did dip a little bit, and he got sacked a hell of a lot more. For the most sack yardage, got sacked 41 times. So, you know, even off 2 prove-it years, where he gave you numbers that would quantify, like these numbers are better than what Daniel Jones put up last year. These are good numbers, right? For all intents and purposes, for a QB. If you tell me I have a franchise QB, well, what numbers do you expect? I expect 60-plus completion percentage. I expect 4,000 to 5,000 yards. I expect that at minimum, mid-20s in touchdowns and low teens in interceptions at maximum. That's what you got in Kirk Cousins. In these 2 years on the franchise tag, this wasn't even enough to convince Washington that he was worth this bread. This was not enough. So what is enough? So the franchise tag is supposed to be a prove it. From what we saw of Kirk Cousins, he proved it. He proved it. And Washington still wouldn't pay him. So who is this? The franchise tag is only beneficial for the teams. I know fans want to look at the whole thing of, well, they get paid an average of the top 5 players at that position, and that's a lot of money. Sure, it's a lot of money, but not to the billionaires who own the team. Not to the capologists who have to move that money around. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. That's already been budgeted. Like, that's the thing. Like, fans assume these bills just come out of nowhere. Like, these contract numbers just come out of nowhere. Like, oh, Lamar wants all this money. Like, oh my God. Like, they already budgeted for that. The money is there. It's in escrow. Only the Raiders can't pull this off because they just don't have it. But if a team really wanted it, the money's there. They're not fooling anybody. So I think there's a thing where this franchise tag, it only benefits teams. So if Lamar truly has a guy, and who knows, we don't know if this is his own doing or someone on his behalf or just someone being covert with it and wants to then be the hero to run up on Lamar with his findings. But in essence, someone is going around and trying to initiate contact with other teams to see if Lamar can get a deal somewhere else. And if he could get a deal somewhere else, it doesn't even have to be fully guaranteed. And he for sure doesn't want to be a Raven. Where do you sit on this? Do we take this as fact? Do we take that as something that is something that could happen? Let me know in the comments whether this is live on a replay. Let me know, because there's going to be a lot of conversation in regards to what happens with Lamar going forward. And I think there's going to be a lot of misinformation. There's already been tons of misinformation already. As we continue to just have, you know, insiders give out information and then have to walk it back or change up the wording or delete tweets. Like, we've seen all of that in just Lamar getting the tag. Since Lamar had the tag put on him, there's been tons of misinformation. So I don't know if I want to put this in misinformation. This certainly sounds like misinformation to me, because how can an agent that's not an agent be able to get in contact with multiple teams and talk on Lamar Jackson's behalf. Lamar Jackson doesn't have a representation. Cool. That doesn't necessarily mean that other agents can come in on his behalf, allegedly, and then tell teams, well, he doesn't even really want a fully guaranteed contract. And he for sure just doesn't want to be a Raven. This could be a rogue guy. And again, who's telling Mike Florio this? Consider that piece. Is this more team managers, trainers, scouts, assistant to the assistant GMs, these sources that these insiders keep claiming that they have throughout these organizations? Is this another case of that? Is this third, fourth hand information being passed down and now being put out here to us on platforms that are supposed to be informing us? I don't know. But to me, it screams of just shaky. I don't co-sign it. I'm not here for it. I think there's a lot to be desired there. I think, if there's one thing the Ravens want to do to kind of clean all this up, and I've been on record, there's been a lot of Lamar Jackson content on my channel, and it's been very polarizing. But one piece that I've said that not too many people have pushed back on, and I was surprised, is that if the Ravens truly want Lamar to come back and not ask for demand, and high demand in terms of fully guaranteed money that's multi-year and all of that stuff, no funny money contract, what they need to do is go get him help. That's, I think, if you want to make my job easier, I won't bang you in the head for the most money. Make my job easier. You want me to come back off of missing 5 games each of the last 2 seasons because our strength and conditioning staff was ranked as a F- by our own players, so much so that you had to fire the person in charge. You want me to come back and continue to work with little to no help? Yes, you're going to have to overpay me then. For me to be happy to have to run out here and try to scratch and crawl our way to 10-7 every year, yes, you're going to have to pay me. And yes, you're going to have to set the market. Yes. But now, if you don't want to pay me the money that I'm worth, which is overpaying me over more than what Deshaun Watson got, okay, then you're going to have to give me help. And the one person I've been speaking on to be that help for Lamar is this man, Nuck, DeAndre Hopkins. So now there is more tea. This is according to Pac-Man Jones, former player. He's on podcasts now. He's dabbled into the analyst side of stuff. He's now more of commentating. According to him, he went on McAfee, and he's saying that the Bills, Patriots, Ravens, Raiders, and Falcons are the 5 teams in on DeAndre Hopkins. Now, there was a lot of reporting about potential compensation for DeAndre Hopkins and how much the Cardinals want for him, whether it's a first, whether it's a couple of seconds and a third. There's been a lot of speculation as to what the Cardinals want to give up Nook. I want to focus on the Ravens, because on this live stream, like 3 weeks ago, right, leading up to Lamar and the whole tag thing, even like first popping off, I said, yo, if you want Lamar to take less money and to take that funny money and to not to hold it against you for, wanting to give him for, if Lamar wants to acquiesce and not take fully guaranteed money like he should, like the NFLPA is encouraging him to, then he needs to tell the Ravens, well, get me some help. I'm not signing this funny money contract until you get me some certifiable help. That's what I said. There's a video on this channel that literally is, why the Ravens should not franchise tag, not put the exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson. And in that video, I walk down the scenario of this. Go get him DeAndre Hopkins, who's still a true number 1 receiver. And then if you're Lamar, you can walk back and say, all right, I know I should get more than Deshaun Watson, but you're finally going to give me help. So, okay, let's revisit that 3 for $133 or whatever bloated funny money, the Kyler Murray funny money contract. You want to throw that back? Okay, cool. Because now I have help, and he's only going to make me look better. So now on that short-term deal, that 3 for $133, or whatever Kyler Murray funny money contract where you might be able to get out of it and opt out. Oh, I'm going to cash out again because now I'm going to be able to show you and shut up those who still think I'm a subpar inferior thrower. That's been one of the main complaints. Outside of injury prone, it's been, oh, he's not even that good of a thrower with the ball. Even though there is advanced analytics and just regular analytics and plain, nuts and bolts stats that we all grew up with that say otherwise. People still just, again, they're regurgitating what they are hearing. You can go through the early part of last year, even right up until he got hurt, and find numerous plays where he was a magical thrower of the ball. But you will have people that would come, he can't hit people when they're wide open. He's like, no, he's not Baker Mayfield. Stop. Like Baker Mayfield literally had a 7-minute video of him missing Odell Beckham wide open. Okay? There's a difference between Lamar allegedly being erratic, even though he's only 2 percentage points behind Mahomes in completion percentage. Okay? But outside of that, he's not Baker Mayfield. He's not Baker Mayfield. Like, the narratives around Lamar as a thrower are just problematic as hell. But DeAndre Hopkins is available. Now, if the Bills can pull this off, if the Bills could go out there, and I'll come off the Lamar Jackson on topic. If the Bills can go out there and have Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins, that's a hell of a counter move to the Jets allegedly getting Aaron Rodgers. That's a hell of a counter. Because you can have Sauce Island. You can do all that stuff with Sauce, and they got Reed back there as well. Like they got some DBs. They got some ball hawks. But Nook and Diggs, that's a problem. That is a problem. That's going to make Josh Allen look even better. You might as well put in the MVP vote right now. Put in that bet right now. If they can find a way to get Nook, I would go all in on Josh getting MVP because those numbers are going to be insane. Even with a bum elbow. He's going to be fresh off a bum elbow. We know he was hindered during the playoffs and even leading up to the playoffs. But if they find a way to get Nook, it's a wrap. Patriots, if I'm Nook, I want no parts. I want no parts of Mac Jones. Ravens, I think if I'm Nook, I want to go to Lamar. Him and Andrews with that running game. Yeah, if I'm Nook, I want to go to the Ravens. Out of these 5 teams that are allegedly in on DeAndre Hopkins, according to Pac-Man Jones, Raiders, I want no parts of Jimmy G if I'm Nook. And the Falcons, I mean, maybe he just likes Atlanta as a city. But in regards to Desmond Ridder, who only started 4 games, I want no parts of that. So that's why, to me, it's like only the Ravens and Bills make sense. Only the Ravens and Bills make sense if you're Nook. So that will be something to keep an eye on. Let's move a little bit faster here. Appreciate those who are pulling up. If you can be so kindly and tap that like, let the people know, let the algorithm know that you're enjoying the content. This is the Sam D from Timeline T, where we go down the timeline and pull up different news stories that are happening in the world of sports, and we react to them on the fly. So Ezekiel Elliott, according to Adam Schefter, has narrowed down his options about where to play to the Eagles, Jets, and Bengals. I have no idea why any of those teams want Ezekiel Elliott. Like, I truly have absolutely, positively no idea why any of these teams will want Zeke. Like, the Eagles have lost, they lost Miles Sanders, but they brought back Boston Scott and Gainwell as well, correct? I don't know why they would want Zeke. Goal line, maybe? If you're Zeke and you're a goal line back at this point, I mean, they can't do the rugby play anymore, so maybe Zeke replaces the rugby play. The Jets, with all the running backs they have, why? I mean, I know they let go of James Robinson, so I'm not necessarily, I don't think they need to replace James Robinson with Zeke. Yeah, that's a weird spot for the Jets. And the Bengals, they lost P. Ryan, so I could see Zeke backing up Joe Mixon. And with the offseason Joe Mixon has, is that going to be an impact on his playing ability this season? So I can see reasons for all 3 of those teams. I'm just not sure why those teams. I could see Zeke thinking those teams should be a good fit, will be a good fit for me. I'm just not sure if those teams feel the same about Zeke. So that is some NFL stuff. Let me see. Let me do a quick peruse to make sure nothing has broken while we're on the stream here. And that's something I also officially like is that when people pull up in the comments and let me know that there's stuff breaking, we've had trades break here on the stream, the Bears, Panthers, DJ Moore trade, I was able to react in real time to that. Let's see. Well, the Jets just brought back Ty Johnson. So I don't know about that. I don't know about that for Zeke. I don't know what that means for Zeke. Tony Pollard has signed his franchise tag. All right, so nothing specific. All right, so let's move to LeBron James. So LeBron did a thing, and I need to set the scene to show you how he did a thing and how masterful it was. So sometimes, again, this whole stream is essentially how blue check boys and girls can be wrong. How the media feeds us misinformation, or they play around with context of words to imply something that's not really there, right? Case in point, Woj. So there was a story first, because on this, we talked about it last week where LeBron was at shoot around for the Lakers. He was shooting free throws. The walking boot was off. So a lot of people were speculating that, LeBron must be coming. He must be, coming back sooner than we thought. The whole narrative of 3 weeks until he gets reevaluated, all of that was thrown out the window because LeBron showed up at shoot around and there was video of him shooting free throws, and he put that meme up on his IG of him in the hyperbaric chamber, the animation of him in the chamber, he must be coming back sooner than we thought. They even had Dennis Schroeder, and he was out there talking about, the doctors in Germany are amazing. If you know, you know. So Dave McMenamin jumps out there first and says LeBron James continues his on-court activity and is on a, quote, gradual basketball movement progression. I have never, in my 15 years in sports media and in the majority of my life watching sports, have never heard the term gradual basketball movement progression. That's a new one. I have never. Have any of you heard that term? Gradual basketball movement progression. Anyway, there is no specific timetable. That's the key part. There is no specific timetable for his return to game action according to the team. So McMenamin's a beat writer, follows with the team, travels with the team, has sources throughout the team, not just a couple of trainers, a couple of scouts, the assistant to the assistant GM. He's got sources throughout the team to varying levels, right? So here's the bluest of all blue check boys that has to outdo him because he's supposed to be the guy with all the news and all the tea and bombs. There's an increasing optimism that LA Lakers star LeBron James could return to play, quote, a few, end quote, games in the final week of the regular season. Okay, so that's pretty benign in the sense of, that's not a Woj bomb, right? That's not a Woj bomb. But in the sense of, McMenamin, who's traveling with the team everywhere they go, he's saying he's just continuing his on-court activity and a gradual basketball movement progression. There's no specific timeline for his return to game action. But your bluest of blue check boys has to jump out there and say, no. He could return to play, quote, a few games in the final week of the regular season, because now that is pushing the story forward. That's elevating the story, because now he gets to pop on the Four Letter Network and gets to read this tweet and expand it for like a 5-minute segment. So we have that. Now, when you talk about Woj breaking something, then Shams is not going to be that far behind. Lakers star LeBron James' foot tendon injury has begun on-court activity. That's not true. We just saw him shooting free throws on court last week, but it's okay. Has begun on-court activity, and the team says there's no timeline yet for return. Sources say James is hopeful for a return within the final 3 to 4 games of the regular season. So you had McMenamin just say he's on the court and he's doing stuff. That's literally all this McMenamin tweet is. He's on the court and he's doing stuff. Then Woj has to double down and say, hey, he's on the court, he's doing stuff, and he's going to be back soon. And then you have Shams that combines the tweets of McMenamin and Woj and says he's doing stuff on the court Yet there's no timetable, but sources are telling me he's going to return. He's hopeful to return within the final 3 to 4 games of the regular season. So, of course, aggregators aggregate. It gets sent in group chats. It gets funneled all over the place. And then you have LeBron. So this is 1:34 p.m. What time was the Woj one? 1:34 p.m. So also have to remember that. So again, someone is texting them this. Okay? This is how we decipher this. 1:34 p.m. for Woj, 1:34 p.m. for Shams, right? So someone is texting them, yeah, I think he might be back in like before the end of the regular season. Boom! Gotta tweet it out. Gotta hurry up and tweet it out. LeBron. 2:37, an hour after. An hour. So he lets it marinate for an hour, and then he speaks for himself, as he ends it off with, but says, there wasn't any evaluation today, and there hasn't been any target date for my return. I'm just working around the clock every day, 3 times a day, to give myself the best chance of coming back full strength whenever that is. God bless y'all sources. I speak for myself. Yeah. The lies people tell. Within an hour. And again, this all came from McMenamin just saying LeBron's on the court doing stuff. The story should just be the McMenamin tweet. It should just be this. It should just be this. That's it. Gradual basketball movement progression. That's the story. But instead it's this. Because someone, there's a Jay-Z line that I always bring up. If sun don't shine, then sun don't shine. So McMenamin was going to be out here and be a newsbreaker today. This is going to be big basketball news. But it can't be that. He can't be the biggest newsbreaker of the day. Because if sun don't shine, i.e. Woj, then the sun don't shine. That's what happens. So he has to come out there and say it. Someone's texting him this, and then Shams gets the same text because, again, these guys all have the same sources. This is not like, well, Woj's source is the assistant GM and Shams' source is the equipment guy. It's the same guy texting both of them. And they're both running with it. It's literally the same timestamp, 1:34 p.m., 1:34 p.m. And then an hour later, LeBron says, God bless y'all. I can speak for myself. None of this is happening. Now, my sources tell me LeBron's going to be back by the first round of the playoffs. But again, I'm not jumping out here on the Elon app trying to act like I got some sort of exclusive tea. Anyone that's in and around basketball knows this. We know when LeBron's coming back. But we don't feel the need to have to jump out here and say, I am definitively going to announce to the world when LeBron's coming back. We're all in group chats. We're all in different private Slacks. We're all using Signal with disappearing messages. We're all doing it. So information is being passed in different ways. It's just some of us choose not to run out there and jump out the window with it. So you have the 2 of the biggest blue check boys in all of basketball with one of the most credible beat writers in basketball and Dave McMenamin for the Lakers. 1:34 p.m. Shams, 1:34 p.m. LeBron is coming back. It's going to be within the final 3 to 4 games of the regular season. LeBron says there has been no evaluation. And there hasn't been any target date for my return. That's a huge L for the blue check boys. I mean, is this lose my number though? Good try. Is this level? I don't know if it's this level. I don't know if it's Schefter and Aaron Rodgers level, but it's close. God bless y'all sources. Is God bless y'all sources better than lose my number? Good try though. Let me know in the comments. So, speaking of the Lake Show, and this is where, mixed in all of this, Lakers won last night. And Lakers beat Phoenix. And we'll go back to McMiniman. Lakers get a huge win over Phoenix, 122-111, to bring their record to 36-37 with 9 games remaining. The Lakers are 10th, a half game up on the 11th seed Utah, and only a game and a half behind number 6 Golden State. And they have the tiebreaker over the Warriors. And now that leads us into bringing up our favorite basketball website, basketballreference.com, because they got all the stats and they have the analytics and they have the standings in a very digestible manner. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Oh, yeah. Rest in peace to the captain, Willis Reed. As a kid that grew up in New York and was inundated with Knick people around me, you could not ignore Willis Reed. I also have a mother that's from Louisiana, could not ignore the greatness of Willis Reed. So salute to the captain, Willis Reed. But as we see here, for the Lake Show, let's see that for, yep, I can fit y'all in. Okay, so you see the Lakers down here at the bottom at 10. And again, from that McMiniman tweet, just a game and a half behind the Warriors in the overall, but only a game behind in the loss column. So again, whether or not they get LeBron back, it really doesn't matter because a lot of teams are tricking it off. The Clippers have not been good. The Warriors are still a horrific road team. OKC's been erratic. Minnesota's been erratic. The Mavericks are an enigma. They are better with just Kyrie than they are with Luka and Kyrie. You can't make that up. I have no inclination as to why that is, but that is what it is. The Lake Show is out here, under 500 as the 10 seed, and if you're Denver, you got to be shaking in your boots. You got to be shaking in your boots if you're Denver. But let's go deeper into this Lakers thing. We showed the schedule. We would break it down the schedule and wins and losses that they had to get. Let's see where they're at now. Okay, so they got a couple of wins. That Rocket loss was huge. That Maverick loss was huge, but they were able to get a win that I didn't think they would get in Phoenix. So sometimes, you know, I was wanting them to beat the teams they're supposed to beat and not worry about the teams that they probably shouldn't beat. The Suns were one of those, but because you drop one to the Rockets, this makes up for that. Beating the Suns and losing to the Rockets, that's a wash. But that helps because the Suns are a 4 seed. So there's a potential for a 4-5 if the Lakers get hot over these last 9 games. Now you see what it is. They got OKC tomorrow. That should be a win, but a should doesn't mean it will. That's a huge game. And then there's a home and home here with the Bulls. We've been talking about these matchups and how important it is because, you know, AD's got to get his rest. OKC, a home and home with the Bulls. Then you're talking about the Timberwolves. These are all road games. Bulls, T-Wolves, Rockets, Jazz, Clippers. And with that Paul George injury, who knows if PG is going to be back in time for this game here. They're not saying definitively he's out for the rest of the regular season, but it's a real possibility. But then you have, you know, the Rockets, they owe them one because they took that L here. They need to get that dub back. The Timberwolves, like these are the wins that really matter. OKC, you need a win. Minnesota, Utah, Clippers. All those you need to win. The Bulls, even though the Bulls are mid, the Bulls are tricky. You're probably going to get a split here with the Bulls. I would like them to win both, but they're probably going to get a split. And these Phoenix Jazz games, I don't know what's going to happen there because if you believe all reports, KD potentially could be back by this game. And if we're believing Woj and Shams, it's possible LeBron could be back. But then LeBron says there's been no evaluation. So who knows? But in theory, if we're to believe the reporting, then KD and LeBron could be back in time for this April 7th game as a next to last regular season game against the Suns. Like this could be a real thing. And then you finish up with Utah. Utah could be spoiler. Utah could still be fighting for a play-in. Who knows? With the losses so close in the West, I don't think any team's just going to lay down at the end. The only team that could potentially be laying down is the Rockets. And the Rockets have been cooking. The Rockets have been cooking of late. Even though that team is clearly like, you know, trying to get himself into Vic, Scoot, and Brandon Miller sweepstakes. But in regards to, you know, potentially being spunky on the way out, like they're not just going to lay down for you. Pause. They're just not going to do that. All right, let's see. Let's zoom out a little bit so we can fit all the teams. Yeah, so you have, that Utah game's still going to matter. OKC, Minnesota, Clippers. Like these are games that the Lakers need to have. The Lakers, I don't want them in the play-in. Although if they have to be in the play-in, I would love for them to get 7. I think they get Memphis out of here quick. Ja came back, he spoke. Yeah, I know my thoughts on that. And if you don't know my thoughts on that, you can check out the channel. I got a lot of Ja content. I think he's leveraging mental health to cover up the fact that he's lacking accountability in his actions. So that there's a nutshell of what I think of Ja Morant. But, he's back. He's important to the league. He's important to the brand. And, the league is not going to have one of their best star players be on the sidelines in a year that could be birthing a gigantic history-breaking, broadcast rights deal that's coming down the line with streaming involved. So they need to have all their numbers, all their metrics, all their, ratings in the high peaking status to be able to go to Apple, Amazon, whoever, and be like, we got Ja. Ja is numbers. You gonna break the bank or what? So, but I think if you're the Lake Show and you have to be in that play-in, you want to get 7. Ideally, you want to try to get into this 3-6 because Phoenix is not catching the Kings, lighting the beam here. Sacramento's at 3. I think now the races get to 6. If you could get to 6 and face the Kings, although the Kings are not going to be an easy out, you would just like to think LeBron, AD, D'Lo, Vanderbilt, Beasley, Austin Reeves, all these guys, that they've brought in, allegedly Tristan Thompson, hopefully Mo Bamba, like the fact that they're trying out Tristan Thompson kind of tells you Mo Bamba might not be back, at least in time for the first round. Maybe by the second round, he'll be all right. But yeah, I'm not sure if he makes that playoff roster initially. So I think the race now is to get to 6. Because out of these top 4 teams, y'all let me know in the comments, out of these top 4 teams, if you're the Lakers, who do you want? Do you want Denver? Do you want Memphis? Do you want lighting the beam with the Kings? Or do you want KD fresh off the injury with the Suns? Which one of those teams do you think is the easiest for the Lakers to get up out the paint? Because that's a real thing. It's seeding time. It's posturing time. It's positioning time. Get yourself aligned. And salute to those pulling up. If you could drop a like, I'd be very grateful, very appreciative. Trying to build this live stream up. I want to build a sense of community here. You could drop a comment. We can engage in the comments. Never scared to go back and forth and build a sense of community here and engagement. Like this is what I want to build here. So we're going over that. I think if I'm the Lakers, I want the Kings. I don't want no parts of KD. I think they can beat Ja. I don't know if they should want Denver. I think Jokic would have an axe to grind if he could find a way, whether he wins the MVP award or not, and I will have some content coming about the MVP and who I think is NBA MVP. So if you want to tap into that, subscribe to the channel and all of that good stuff to be alerted of when that drops. But I think I would not be surprised if they fall to 8 and they have to face Denver. Jokic is going to want to play like a man possessed. Because imagine, despite whether or not he wins the MVP award or not, and there's a lot of people saying he is tricking it off in real time right now. IRL, he is tricking it off. If he's able to put out to pasture LeBron and AD, that would be bigger than, winning a third MVP. That would be bigger because everyone's tearing down his playoff record, his playoff resume. If he could go out there and take care of Bron and AD in the first round, a lot of those little chirps will quiet down. All right, let's see. Do we want to, where, okay. So I'll touch on this real quick before I do a recap of what we talked about, and it is this. An Eastern Conference executive, it's a little cut off for y'all. There it is. An Eastern Conference executive says the Atlanta Hawks are monitoring Jaylen Brown's situation in Boston closely. Okay, so there was an article written, and it was a very well done, well written article, and Jaylen Brown was very transparent in regards to his feelings on being in Boston. Amongst some things, he said he still feels as though Boston, he has been treated, he has had racial incidents in Boston, essentially. He also had to have a very transparent and frank conversation with the boy genius, Brad Stevens, and Jason Tatum when all the Kevin Durant rumors, trade rumors came out this past offseason, and the Celtics were thought to just be throwing Jaylen Brown in deals left and right to try to find a way to get Kevin Durant. And the reason why he needed to have that transparent conversation with Jason Tatum and the boy genius Brad Stevens is because Tatum and Kevin Durant were working out together at the time. So it's almost like, Kevin Durant was talking to Tatum directly like, yo, have them put Jaylen Brown in the deal and let's go ahead and hoop together for real. Like, how KD just wants to hoop with the best hoopers. He is, as much as LeBron has been accused of ushering in this AAU style of super teams and join this team, it really has been KD. Kevin Durant has really been the one that has ushered in this AAUing of the NBA. Where, this ain't working out? Well, all right, I'll just go hoop with these dudes over here, and they nice too. So I'm going to just go find the nicest dudes to run with and just go hoop with them. Because in AAU, that's essentially what most guys do. Like, you hoop until you find a better team to hoop with, and you go run with them. Or you find a better team. Oh, your man's is on there. Oh, I'm going to go run with them. That's kind of how AAU has become, as it's turned into, a multi-million-dollar industry. So KD has been on that type of time throughout his career, especially since he got that first taste with the Warriors, and he's been bouncing around ever since. I'm going to just find the best hoopers. Like, he is never going to be on a team full of mid ever again. Like, that's never going to be his thing. And why should it be? To be quite honest with you, why should someone of Kevin Durant's skill set, who some has said he is the most plug-and-play player in the history of the NBA, whereas you could just put him in any system at any era and he'll just get buckets, right? So if I'm that nice, why would I ever want to run with a team that's mid? Why would I ever hoop with a team that doesn't have another star? Why am I going to take on such a heavy workload, a la Lamar in Baltimore? Why should I be out here running around crazy, grabbing and putting this whole franchise on my back just to get to 10-7? Let me go get some help. Let me go play where I can have some help and make my job easier. Who doesn't want an easy job and get paid well? Let me know in the comments if you want to work hard and get paid very little. I don't understand the logic in sports when it comes to fans, but yes, Kevin Durant is very good at his job and doesn't want to work with people who aren't good at their job. So, but Lamar, he should have to work with people that aren't good at their job. Just because he feels he's good at his job and he deserves top pay, that means stay here and work with horrible teammates, horrible employees, and horrible coworkers. Just go ahead and do that. Okay, makes a lot of sense. Sure. So, the misnomer of Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, the Atlanta rumor has been bubbling for, I would say, 2 years. I've been hearing Jaylen Brown, Atlanta. Here's something to think on as we wrap up. If that happens, how much better are the Hawks? And if it's a trade, right? So let's play this out real quick. I'll probably do more of a deep dive on my podcast, the DCMD podcast, when it comes to this, but let's play this out. Let's pretend this is a real possibility. Let's pretend this isn't just speculation and just posturing behind the scenes, right? So you would assume who would have to be in this deal? John Collins, who's forever on the trade block? Collins and who? I would have been traded Trae Young, but let's assume he's not in this deal. John Collins, they just re-upped Bogdanovich. Does that make the salaries work? Bogdanovich, Collins, and a bunch load of picks? Maybe some ancillary pieces. I would not put Jalen Johnson in there. I would not. But, you know, to each his own. I mean, if I could get DeAndre Hunter, if I could do Collins and DeAndre Hunter for Jaylen Brown, that's amazing for the Hawks. I don't know why the Celtics would do that. And that's why trades are always weird to speculate about, because it has to work for both teams. I know fans like to jump out there. The Hawks fans, hey, yeah, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins for Jaylen Brown. Throw in some picks. Away we go. Love it. Yeah, because you're not giving up anything foundational. You're not giving up anything that's essential. You're asking for on some nights, a top 10 player, probably on average, a top 20 player for DeAndre Hunter and John Collins. Like, if I'm the Celtics, why would I do that? How is John Collins helping Jason Tatum get over the hump and get a chip? How is DeAndre Hunter doing that? So I don't know how that works out. But yes, that's been a big thing for a long time, is the rumor of Jaylen Brown to Atlanta. So we will choose to wrap up there. I am the Sam D. This has been Timeline T. Salute to those who were able to pull in, even if it was for a few minutes. I know there's a lot of people that come in, they check in on their ride home, and then they get home and rewatch. If you do want to rewatch, it is on the live tab of the YouTube channel. It's not on the video section. You have to go to the live tab and tap in with that. I will be back here tomorrow. Had a great stream today, I think, being able to get into the Jets-Packers stuff. If you missed me kind of going off a little bit about the Packers and the Jets and why I think this is just another example of sports media taking advantage of us as consumers and fans and people that just want information. You can check that out. Lamar Jackson, there's a lot of misinformation there. This whole stream has just been nothing but misinformation from the media to us. That's essentially what it's been. The blue check boys and girls feeding us lies, and I'm here on this stream trying to dissect the lies and show you the lies. So if you missed any of the thing earlier, definitely pull back up for the replay. But for Sam D, this is Timeline T. I'm Sam Dusenberry Jr. I'll check you out tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. Peace.